Oh, gosh. He's got the
Call
hammer
the
out.
Murphysboro Board of Education meeting to order. Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Wilson? Mrs. Judy?
Here.
Mrs. Brazel? Here. Mr. Green? Here. Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Here.
Mr. Beavers?
Here. Item number 3, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Nope.
Not entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is approval of the consent agenda, which consists of District 186 regular board meeting minutes dated December 19th, 2023, Tri-County bills for January 2024, applications and reports.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
And a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'm done talking.
Item number 6 is approval of District 186 bills for January 2024. Are there any questions? Good. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills as presented.
So moved.
And a second?
Second. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mrs. Judy?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes. Number 7 is communication.
I have 2. The first one is from Jane Pinkston. This email is to inform you of my retirement at the end of the 23-24 school year. I would like to thank Murphysboro School District 186 for the opportunity to work for the district. I really enjoyed working with the students for approximately 24 years. I hope I have been an asset to their education. Sincerely, Jane Pinkston.
And her career has been an EOC aide, so we will not need to replace her.
Recommend approval. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
The next one is from Jeremy Marshall. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter as a notice of my resignation as head baseball coach at Murphysboro Middle School for the 24-25 school year. With my new position at the high school, I do not believe I'll be able to give the MMS baseball program the time and the dedication it deserves. Thank you, Jeremy Marshall.
Entertain a motion to approve that one.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. I do not see a fishbowl, so.
We have one.
Oh, you have one. Snuck it in on.
So we have a write-up in the Illinois State Board of Education publication that highlights April Bartnick and her class on an environmental project where they planted several oak trees to help with erosion mitigation, and her class took a climate mitigation pledge, and we're excited to do that. I won't read the entire article, but it's here. I'll pass it around to the board, and thank you to Ms. Bartnick.
Moving on to number 9, Freedom of Information Act. Sherry Reed from Smart Procure requested some information, as well as Illinois Retired Teachers Association, and all information was provided to those two in a timely manner. Number 10 is the recognition of the audience. The Board of Education welcomes the audience to make public or employee comments. The board has set aside time in the agenda specifically for this purpose. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.230, each speaker shall be limited to a 5-minute presentation. Please be aware that while this is the time for the public to express its opinions or concerns, the board may or may not comment regarding public presentations. If a matter of public comment warrants discussion or action of the Board of Education, such discussion or action will be added to the agenda of a future meeting. Are there any public concerns? Are there any employee concerns? If not, thank you all for coming. Item number 1 under old business is approval of the 23-24 seniority list. They've been posted. I guess nothing's been sent back.
Think we're good?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the seniority list.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2 is going to be permission to purchase or bid maintenance truck.
As I said in the board agenda digest, the state did not make these trucks for the contract this year, the state bid contract with the extended cab and the.
Similar to the
bid.
Ford Transit vans,
Yeah.
where they just can't fulfill what they have committed to.
Yeah, we've had a purchase order in since December of '22, and they still hadn't made in, no idea if they will or when they will. They thought maybe they could find us a similar vehicle, and I called today, because they supposedly been looking around to see if they can come up with something. And we're still short on the specs, not quite what we need for the maintenance truck. So, talked to Mr. Ripley and Dr. Evers, and we would like to ask the board to go out for bid on the maintenance truck and see if we can, find something locally.
He was concerned when I talked to Mr. Ripley because what they could find was not an extended cab, but bigger than that, the plow, he wasn't certain if it had the oscillating capabilities and that movement that he really wanted it to have, so he was gonna have to research the plow to see if it was similar to what they had. Because right now, like he said, when I'm making this decision, this truck will be here for, I think their current one is like 28 years old, so he's like, this is a decision that we're gonna make and live with for probably 3 decades. So
Yeah.
because even the one that they have will just be will become a secondary plow and a secondary work vehicle. So he would prefer to go out to bid.
Are there any questions? Now I'll entertain a motion to go out for bid for a maintenance truck.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Mrs. Judy,
Yes.
Mr. Beavers.
Yes. Moving on to new business, item number 1 is approval of a resolution abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2023 to pay debt service on general obligation school bonds, alternative revenue sources, series 2017, general obligation school bonds, alternative revenue source, series 2019, and general obligation school bonds, series 2020 of the district.
And this resolution is the one that we do every year that allows us to, instead of spending taxpayer dollars to repair bonds, spending the county facility sales tax. So each time these bonds, the 17, the 19, and the 20, were sold, that was the intention, is that we were gonna pay for those bonds with the county facility sales tax, so.
And you basically sell the bonds for big projects.
Yeah, and if
It's
we,
like collateral.
so if we don't pass the resolution, then it goes back on the tax
Goes
rolls
on the property tax.
without the abatement, and it'd be another, probably close to $1 million in debt service payments that the taxpayers would pick up, and so.
But that money
wouldn't
would
go
not
well.
be available for projects. We're spending $1 million out of the
Right.
sales tax money to abate these
Yes.
other things, other projects.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood.
Because if
Yeah.
we didn't have the sales tax, we probably wouldn't have sold those bonds to do these projects.
Right.
We wouldn't have had it yet. So I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Mrs. Judy,
Yes.
Mr. Beavers.
Yes. Item number 2 is approval of the audit engagement agreement.
We just finished our FY '23 audit, and that was the last year that we had an engagement letter with Rice Sullivan. So I did a little homework, like I did the last time, just to see Does this look like it's in line to what other districts are paying compared to our size and our federal funds? Because we have to have a single audit every year, so that's part of the fee as well. And seems to be in line. There's always some concern about, going out for proposals, because the last couple districts that I'm aware of that did that, one got one proposal and one district got none. Because there aren't a lot of auditors that are interested in doing school audits, because there's just so much compliance they have to do. And there's so many now, so I don't want to get kicked to, because there's a wait list for some of the audit firms for new school districts. So if we say we're going out for RFP and we don't get any, then we might get kicked off the wait list and,
We're looking.
and not have an auditor, so it's tough.
And one at Metro East was our closest one, and the other ones were Chicago.
Right, for the bank then, huh?
We're 50 to pushing $100,000 for audits.
Did you used to have more local, were there local firms that did
Metro
those?
East was about the closest we've gone, had found for bank stuff.
Yeah.
A lot more than,
There's only one other firm that I
17.
know of that would likely, if we did, and I'm satisfied with Rice. I think they did their job 2 years ago in identifying where we had our, 2 and 3 years ago, where they came up with our procedural shortcomings, and we fixed those, and I think that they're going to continue to be mindful of, those checks and balances, so I'm comfortable with engaging with them for another 3 years.
And they're prompt, which is a big thing
that's
that
the main thing. is
that we meet our
what they're
deadlines.
supposed to do.
The other firm that I had previously worked with, and they do work with Carbondale 95, their calendar is extremely busy, so I would have a feeling that we would likely not get our audit completed until closer to Labor
If you know
Day.
them and they've been prompt, you might as well go with who you know.
Right.
Right.
So the option is to just continue with Rice and Sullivan or go out to RFP?
Right.
Okay.
And so
Alright.
we have the 3-year proposal.
All right. I motion we stay with Rice and Sullivan with the 3-year agreement.
And a second?
Second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Judy?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes. Item number 3 is 24-25 school calendar. In accordance with CBA, representatives, 1 or 2 of the board, be available in February to discuss the school calendar next year. Anybody want to jump out there?
Last year we had 2 participants. I think it was Mr. Brown and Miss Brazel. So,
I'm happy to do it again unless
I'll do it again.
somebody else wants to
I'll do it again.
jump in.
Okay, I'll help you. We're gonna be here, right? I'm gonna be here, right?
yeah, and we
When is
usually will
it?
do it in February.
February, yeah.
I know, right, just
Yes.
during the week.
It's usually, just a day during the week.
Okay, the 9th, will it?
No, you
No.
can make it whenever you want.
Okay, so I'm gonna be out of town.
Okay. So you guys good?
Okay.
Okay. Now, with information. Item number 4 is permission to obtain quotes for property liability and workers' comp insurance.
Yes, just would like to get permission from the board to shop again like we did last year. We have a year of our work comp that'll be rolling off. Some of our higher claims happened last year, is gonna happen again, and, knock on wood, without any new claims, we should see a little bit more relief even in our work comp quotes, so it'd be nice to see if we can get a competitive quote and save even more money. I don't really expect to see anything on our property and liability, but it doesn't hurt to look. So our agent just, gets a few proposals and looks to see what the market is, kind of tests the market for us. So that's what we're requesting.
I'll entertain a motion to go out for bid for insurance.
So moved.
Wait a second.
Second.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Judy?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes. Item number 5 is permission to obtain quotes for a fiber project. Looks like this will E-rate, might be E-rate work, district can get 85% of it reimbursed.
But we'll have to pay up front.
I make a motion to go out for bid.
And a second?
Second.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Judy?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes. Item number 6, permission to obtain quotes for security cameras. Just kind of get an idea where we're at, what prices we get.
Right, and
What's
right
this
now we
for?
have a lot of analog and we need to move towards digital cameras. We're looking mostly at, the two schools that pull up camera footage the most are the high school and the middle school. And so there's been some like gaps when they're pulling back video at those two buildings. I think for the most part, Ms. Finke and Mr. Todd, that like their cameras meet their overall expectations. So when we're looking at whether or not we'll do a full district upgrade or if we'll do a phased upgrade, because for the amount that they pull up, your cameras are sufficient, correct?
I mean, there, like you said, there's a delay or a gap, but we don't use them nearly as much.
Right,
At least
right.
I don't, as
Yeah,
middle school
and-
and high school.
We had talked a little bit about some of the camera quality, where they're the older, like you can't zoom in, or, I mean, yeah, you've got camera footage, but it's not clear enough to be discerning once you get out more than 15 foot from it. And so we talked about maybe upgrading some of those, but it would be a couple, it's not a full upgrade.
Full building upgrade. So, I mean, we'll look at what it will cost to do the whole, and then we might have to look at where the most impact and need would be, where they pull up the cameras the most regularly.
My concern is even though they don't use their cameras as often, it's like pointing a camera at your driveway to catch someone breaking into your car, and they do it once a year. And the one time you need the video, it's not clear enough to see who it was, so it's worthless.
Right.
So I know it would be a complete replacement of the system, or is it a add-on to the current system? That,
We'd be looking probably at a complete replacement. We do have some IP cameras that might be functional with the new solution that we've been looking at. But they're having us try to dig part numbers up, and the company that those cameras came from is no longer in business. So the
So,
chance that those
yeah.
are gonna be functional.
getting 4K cameras just allows that zooming so much more. If you're gonna do it, at least maybe have a plan to phase the other buildings in.
Within, well, and I
within a
know he has
timeframe.
a major project that will be a 2026 project.
Right,
And so that might be the time where we look at elementary upgrades in 2026, because just like we do with our vehicles now, they used to try to balance out the mileage, and that's not something that I really value. I think that you need to depreciate your assets so that they don't all need to be replaced. Like, you don't make sure everyone has balanced mileage, because then you're gonna be replacing all your Hondas at one time and, your fleet of vehicles. And so, just like, when you do assets like this, if you do maybe one or two building, one building a year or two buildings a year, and really when you look at the high school, is the timing, do we put that as part of the new construction? Because that will be another, 25% expansion of our high school space with the new gymnasium.
indoor and outdoor, because you'll
So
be
if we-
not more outdoor.
Yeah, and so when you look at that, we could get it done at the high school potentially, like, and the middle school, and then do Carruthers in the general in 2026 when we do the cafeteria expansion. That we would make sure that whatever cameras we did and whatever that matches that in our bid specs for what we'll have in our new gymnasium.
And I'm fine with that. I just know how the technology just grows every single year, and they're probably being 2 years apart, the systems probably wouldn't be compatible with each other, even that. And it's like we've seen the advantage of Darren being able to pull up the heating and air conditioning system and control that for any building
Or
in the district.
help me when I lock myself out, all
Or
those
when you
systems
lock
and
yourself
controls, yeah.
So it's just that's that one stop shop to view all the security footage for all the buildings would be nice, but that may or may not happen with a phased approach.
Well, and
So
depending on
we'll
what
just-
the numbers look like, I mean, we just
Yeah,
have to
exactly,
be realistic on
exactly.
what that
And-
looks like.
We were hoping for an enterprise-grade solution with single place of storage at the high school in the data center, all IP cameras coming to that one location, so we can easily take care of security issues, who's got access to what. Darren can then have access to everything. Right now, they're all individual DVRs. We have 25 different DVRs through the district
Wow.
we try to manage through. And then their storage amounts
Yeah.
vary greatly. So this would allow that to come together.
Okay.
That's one thing with those bids, just see what they come back at. We're getting ready to do the big gym project. We gotta
So that's when Jan asked how much, and I'm like, yeah,
be mindful.
we'll figure out those
You knew I was
numbers.
gonna ask that
You
first.
come in here for a few $100,000, like, whoa, slow down. You know?
No, that's what I'm,
And it could be, I mean, this
It
could
could
be
be.
upwards of $400,000 or $500,000 potentially, so.
But this is an insurance policy as well.
It is, but I mean, it's like everything else with insurance, we're putting that out with that gym in the next year. And only so
Well,
much
and
on
that's the
tree.
thing, you know, do you have full coverage or do you have liability? And that's where, I mean, right now, we probably are more in that, if you're doing an insurance analogy, we're probably more in, you know, somewhere in between full coverage and
Yeah,
comprehensive,
comprehensive.
yeah, comprehensive,
There
sorry.
you go. Okay.
All right,
So
so
we
we need
need-
a motion to go out for a quote for security cameras.
So moved.
In a second.
Second?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Judy?
yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes. I need to go into closed session.
Extremely briefly.
Motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section 2 of the Open Meetings Act, 5 Illinois Compiled Statutes 122C, to review the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity.
And a second.
Second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Judy?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.